It is a cold morning in 1960. Coal smoke hangs low over a row of terraced houses. Subscribe to the channel today for more stories about Britain's homes between 1955 and 1960. You can hear a kettle on a gas ring. You can hear the BBC Home Service in the front room. Net curtains sit behind clean windows. A coal fire is laid ready in many homes. The street is busy early. Milk bottles clink in wire crates on doorsteps. A pram is parked outside a corner shop. A queue forms for bread, cigarettes, and the morning paper. Some families still talk about rationing leftovers. Some foods still feel like a recent relief. A Morris Minor passes slowly. A Ford Zephyr turns at the end of the road. One house has an outside lavatory. Another has a new indoor one after a small refit. A back kitchen has a copper for wash day. A newer place has an electric washing machine, if they can afford it. In many streets, the post-war plan is visible. Council estates rise near older terraces. Prefabs still stand in some districts. Some are tidy and cared for, and some are tired. New semis appear on the edge of town. They come with a small front garden and a wider road. Families talk about moving out for space. They talk about staying put for security. A council house can mean a fixed rent and a better layout. A bought house can mean pride and a long mortgage. In 1960, a home is not just shelter. It is the biggest decision a working family can face. So here is the question that frames everything. What did British workers earn in 1960? And what did a house actually cost on these streets? In the next part, we start with the pay packet. We follow the money from the factory gate to the front door. The week starts before dawn. Many men leave in a dark overcoat for the bus stop. Factory shifts set the household clock. Some start at 7 a.m. and some rotate days and nights. A union notice board sits by the gate. Pay talks are part of the routine. Overtime is not for luxuries. Overtime is how families balance the books. Saturday is often a half day. Saturday afternoon is for errands and small repairs. Wages arrive in a brown envelope. You count notes at the kitchen table. A skilled man might take home steady pay. A younger lad takes less and pays board to his mum. Money goes out fast. Rent, coal and food take the first share. A few shillings go to the building society. That is the deposit dream in slow motion. Bus fares matter, so do school shoes and a repair to the cooker. This is why house prices hit so hard. They are compared to a weekly wage, not a headline. Next, we read the 1960 price tags in the estate agent window. You stop at the estate agent's window on the high street. Cards sit in neat rows behind the glass. Each card shows a price in pounds. Each card ends with subject to contract. A small terraced house is often the cheapest step. Even then it can mean years of wages. A semi-detached asks more for a garden and a drive. A new build estate asks more for a newer plan and more space. You read 3-bed semi and parlour and scullery. You also read indoor WC as a selling point. Some homes still feel cold and damp. Some have a new boiler and a proper bathroom. The deposit is the first wall. Many buyers need cash before a building society will lend. 10% is common. On a $1,500 house, that is $250 plus fees. A solicitor handles searches, deeds and the contract. Buyers fear hidden repairs in roofs, wiring and timber. This is the hard maths of 1960. So for many workers, the council list mattered. Next, we follow the council route and what it offered. After the estate agent's window, many workers turn to the council office. The barrier is not a deposit. The barrier is time. You fill forms and wait for the housing officer. You list who sleeps in which bed. You mention damp, overcrowding and the shared outside loo. Allocations follow rules and points. A growing family rises up the list. A medical letter can change everything. A council tenancy brings predictability. Rent is weekly and it fits inside a wage packet. You get a rent book and a set day to pay. Security matters as much as price. You can plan for school, work and bills. You can stop moving from one short let to another. Post-war rebuilding is still reshaping whole districts. Old terraces are cleared as unfit. New council estates appear with indoor toilets and proper kitchens. Some homes are prefabs that were meant to last a few years. By 1960, many are still lived in with pride. A council house can feel like a quiet lottery win. Many homes in 1960 still carry habits from the ration years. People keep jars, string, and spare buttons. Food is better than it was, but memories stay sharp. Families still talk about making do as normal. Then you step into a newer kitchen, and you feel the change. A gas cooker replaces an older range. A fridge appears in a home that can manage the cost. Hot water becomes a daily concern. Some houses still rely on kettles and a back boiler. Some have a newer cylinder and a more reliable system. Indoor bathrooms spread across estates and new semis. A proper bath changes the weekly routine. Wash day becomes less of a full operation. The indoor toilet is a turning point for many families. It changes nights, winters, and dignity. It also changes how parents think about what a house should be. Fitted cupboards start to appear in better layouts. A hallway feels less cramped. Storage becomes part of planning, not a fight for space. These upgrades reshape family life inside the walls. They also reshape what people are willing to pay. Next, we put a 1960 household budget under pressure. Picture a working family in 1960. 2 adults and 2 children live in a small 2 up, 2 down. The pay packet is counted in the kitchen. Call it a £10 weekly wage after deductions. Monthly planning means 4 envelopes on the table. Each one is labelled in pencil. Housing takes the first envelope. A council rent is paid weekly with a rent book. A mortgage payment is heavier and less forgiving. Coal is next. A scuttle is filled and watched like a meter. A cold snap can wipe out any spare money. Bus fares come out every week. So does the money for the co-op and the grocer. Meat is planned, not guessed. Tea, sugar, and bread are never optional. Electricity is kept low in the evenings. One room is heated and the rest is shut off. School costs arrive in small shocks. Shoes wear through fast on wet pavements. A new jumper can mean no weekend treats. If something breaks, the month changes shape. A cooker fault can end overtime savings. A roof leak can cancel the new linoleum. Small pleasures become strategic. A Lion's tea house visit is rare, not routine. The wireless stays on because it costs nothing to listen. This is what a wage felt like in real life. It was enough to live, but not enough to waste. This is why the deposit question matters so much. Next, we look at mortgages, building societies, and the deposit wall. To buy in 1960, most workers need a building society. Banks are not the normal route for ordinary home loans. You walk into a local branch with a passbook. They want to see steady saving over time. Rules are strict and personal. They ask about your job, your age, and your dependents. They also ask about your character. A manager's view can matter. Many loans need a guarantor. A father or an older relative may sign. The interest rate matters, but the deposit matters more. The deposit proves you can delay spending. 10% is a common expectation. Some deals ask for more on riskier properties. A $3,000 house needs $300 down before anything starts. For a £10 weekly wage, that is a long climb. Families join savings clubs at work. Some use the post office savings bank for discipline. They cut small comforts to protect the deposit fund. They avoid new furniture and focus on cash in hand. Building societies also prefer solid houses. They question damp, old wiring, and poor roofs. A survey can stop a purchase overnight. A cheap terrace can become too risky to lend on. So the gatekeeper is not desire. The gatekeeper is cash saved, proven, and accepted. Next, we return to the streets that could not wait for perfect finance. We look at prefabs, repairs, and the daily reality of fixing what you already had. Not every home in 1960 is ready for a mortgage survey. Many families live in transitional housing and make it work. Some prefabs still stand from the post-war emergency. They were meant to be temporary. By 1960, they are part of daily life. A good prefab is warm and well kept. A tired one shows its age in doors, seals, and floors. Damp is a constant enemy in older terraces. Condensation sits on window panes in winter. Drafts come through gaps in floorboards. Cold creeps in around loose sash windows. People patch what they can. Roof felt is checked after heavy rain. Wallpaper is replaced in the front room to keep standards. A new pattern can lift a whole house. Draft excluders appear at the bottom of doors. Old newspapers are used where money runs short. Paint and paste matter more than decoration. They signal control and care. DIY is not a hobby for most workers. DIY is how you protect the home you have. A coal fire is cleaned out with routine pride. Brass is polished before visitors arrive. Many kitchens still have a scullery feel. A worktop is scrubbed, not styled. This is the respectability code of the period. You keep things proper, even when conditions are hard. These repair habits also shape what people want next. They push families toward the new suburbs when they can. Next, we follow the suburb boom and how the British street changes by 1960. By 1960, the edge of town is changing fast. Fields become streets in a few seasons. New semis appear in long lines. They follow simple mid-century plans and standard materials. Roads are wider than the older terraces. Pavements feel cleaner and less crowded. Front gardens become normal. Hedges and low walls mark private space. Many houses have a driveway. Some have a garage, even if it becomes storage first. A car changes the map of daily life. An Austin or a Morris makes distance feel smaller. Shopping shifts from tiny corners to bigger parades. New estates get a row of local shops and a bus stop. Council estates also expand outward. They bring indoor bathrooms and more consistent layouts. People talk about moving out as a life step. It means more air, less soot, and a different street noise. It also means fewer relatives close by. It can mean longer commutes and new schools. The social meaning is clear in small details. A new curtain set signals a fresh start. Neighbours compare gardens and paintwork. They compare rent, rates, and heating costs. The old street looks tight and worn beside the new one. The new street can feel empty at first. This is not only about taste, it is about affordability and access. A suburban semi often costs more than a terrace. For a worker, that gap can decide a whole future. Next, we bring the comparison together. We line up 1960 wages against 1960 house prices and see what shocks today. Now put the 1960 numbers side by side. Put the pay packet next to the estate agent card. A typical wage is counted by the week. A typical house price is counted in thousands of pounds. That mismatch is the first shock. You earn in small units and you buy in huge ones. For many working families, a modest home often lands at several years of total pay. It can sit around 4 to 6 times a worker's annual earnings. That sounds low to some people today. It also hides the real barriers of the time. The deposit is cash you must already have. The lender can still say no after the survey. Heating costs are higher than you expect. Coal and damp shape how every room is used. Commuting time is often longer when you move out. Childcare is handled inside the family, not by services. So what was easier? Journeys were smaller when work and shops were close. So what was harder? Cold homes, strict borrowing and fewer safety nets hit fast. Council housing changes that picture for many. A fair rent and security create stability without a deposit. But there is something else in the comparison. Homes were smaller and routines were tighter. The street carried more of daily life. Local shops, neighbours and shared habits filled the gaps. Today we gained space and choice in many places. We also lost some of the closeness and the repair culture. This is why the 1960 comparison still matters. It shows how housing is never just money. It is heat, security, distance and community. It is how a country decides what a normal life looks like.